of the local crews are currently in the process of pulling out of the rescue efforts here at the Pentagon. Police wanted to reach as many people as possible in this area. That's why they were out here during rush hour handing out these flyers, hoping to generate more leads. The president used this plant as a backdrop to announce the relief plan. Ever since the September 11th attacks, there's been concern that the economy would suffer. A man who is wanted for shooting his ex-girlfriend in the neck is still on the run. Even though there are national reports that there's a shortage of Cipro, locally that's not the case. In fact, Shoppers says that supplies are at normal levels, and so far there's been no increase in demand. County firefighters are still investigating last night's fire at a Pepco substation that left some 13,000 customers without power. Officers plan to be out here all week enforcing the 35-mile-per-hour speed limit. Days after the terrorist attack on the Pentagon, the grim task of sifting through the wreckage suffered another setback. A section of the roof collapsed overnight, making rescue efforts an even more undaunting task. Among the emergency personnel, 400 soldiers working 12-hour shifts. They've undergone rigorous military training, but nothing could prepare them for this mission.
If a soldier does not feel comfortable going in, he does not need to be a hero. He needs to come forward and be honest and say, it's a little bit much, I can't handle that. That is okay.
Rescue workers are removing victims' bodies from the rubble. Grief counselors meet with them after every shift.
Yes, sir, we're going to help you.
The Salvation Army has 6 canteens to feed the workers. They're also helping grief-stricken families come to terms with their losses.
We simply help them as best we can to deal with and to process what they're feeling and to assure them in any way that we can that we're there to be helpful and supportive.
For Sheila Mulhern, volunteering is a way of coping. She was in the Pentagon the day of the attack. Now she's working for the Red Cross.
Next day, tried to come out to go into the office to see what I could do. Couldn't do anything there, so I walked out to Red Cross to see what I could do to help.
The massive $250 million cleanup effort means volunteers will be needed in the weeks to come. Crews are currently trying to stabilize the exterior of the Pentagon. Right now, they're in a deconstruction phase. They're taking it apart layer by layer. As time goes on, it becomes less likely that there are any survivors inside. However, rescue workers here continue to hold out hope.
They have a mission, and it's important for them. That's one thing I've learned in working with firefighters. Once they begin a mission, it's important that they finish it.
Makeshift memorials line the perimeter of the Pentagon. They're a symbol of support and a sign of a country that stands united in the face of terrorism. At the Pentagon, Amy Sudowitz, CTV News. A Landover mail facility that handles letters for the Justice Department is the latest casualty of the anthrax scare. It closed down because it tested positive for anthrax. The building receives mail from the Brentwood facility where traces of the bacteria were found. Hundreds of Brentwood postal workers were bused to D.C. General Hospital today. Many are finishing up their 10-day supplies of Cipro. Now they're taking doxycycline for the next 50 days.
There was really no background data for them to go to see how Cipro would be long-term. And when they evaluated doxycycline, they found that it kills this bacteria just as effectively as Cipro.
Last week, thousands of Brentwood postal employees underwent anthrax testing. 2 of their co-workers died from inhalation anthrax. The situation is a lot for the mail handlers who knew Thomas Morris and Joe Cursine to take in.
Loss, anger, but there's still hope, you know. Yeah, but a little anger, disappointment, but still keep hope alive.
Uncertainty at the hospital is widespread. Last week, people who picked up mail in bulk carriers from Brentwood were given antibiotics. Today, some like this mailroom worker from the IRS were turned away.
And I'm confused. I want an answer because we were told if we were already on it, we were told to stop.
Many mail carriers from area post offices are coming to the hospital for the first time. They'll get 10 days worth of medicine, and then from there, it's a waiting game. Even though the antibiotics are being handed out as a precautionary measure, that explanation isn't good enough for many postal workers. They say they're fearful they're taking the drugs for no reason at all.
We're kind of scared. We don't know, what to expect, and on my behalf, I'm just, coming to protect myself.
The Postal Service is quick to point out that regular customers should not be scared of anthrax contamination. It sent out 147 million postcards with a message from the Postmaster General. And the ordeal is not stopping postal workers from their duty. They vow to move forward no matter what the cost.
Any job you do right now, you're taking a chance when you come out the door. With the things that's going on in the world, the terrorist acts, whether it be your police, your firemen, or your postal worker.
In Washington, Amy Sudowitz, CTV News.
Open up the road! Open up the road!
A ripped-up road in Laurel is tearing apart the community. Business owners claim that a new federal road project is ruining their lives. A section of Route 197 and 2 nearby streets were closed more than a week ago to repair bridges and change traffic patterns. Now the future of nearly a dozen stores may be at stake.
Any government just cannot proceed with what they think is progress to the expense of the taxpayers, the business owners, and the residents.
Open up the road! Business owners from the Pheasant Run Shopping Center held a protest along 197 and South Laurel Drive.
People's lives have been drastically changed.
The event was organized by Rosalind Johnson.
We cannot get to our laundromats, we cannot get to our doctors, we cannot get to mass transit.
A new detour forces customers to drive nearly 4 miles through a residential area to reach the once accessible shops.
Construction causing destruction.
Signs were recently posted directing people to a 7-Eleven where business has dropped 80% in the last week.
I have to go through 8.5 miles both ways to buy a cup of coffee, and no matter how good our coffee be, still I don't think they're going to be willing to get that traveling time.
A similar scenario at the Pheasant Run Cleaners where the racks are empty. Shop owner Mason Chang is questioning the fate of his formerly prosperous business.
We can't stay open like this. Probably won't last more than a month because there's no way we could pay the rent.
Patrons of the neighborhood cleaner say they aren't sure they'll stick around for the change.
Inconvenience. Very much an inconvenience because I live so close I could actually walk over here. And now I have to take a complete circle around the neighborhood in order to come to the cleaners.
It could take up to a year to finish the improvements.
This is what Route 197 looks like now. Even though the project is being run by the Federal Highway Administration, its impact is being felt by local businesses and residents.
What we wanted to do is work with Congressman Hoyer's office through our county with the feds and make them acquainted with the problems that are here for the people.
The shop owners admit that change is inevitable. However, they hope the government considers an alternate detour before there is no alternative for them but to shut down. In Laurel, Amy Sudowitz, CTV News 15.
This is Community Television, Channel 15. And now, CTV News.
Fire rips through an apartment complex. Good evening and welcome to CTV News for this Thursday, August the 30th. I'm Dave Goldman in for Curtis Crutchfield.
And I'm Amy Sudowitz. Thanks for joining us tonight. Well, fire tore through a Riverdale apartment complex this morning, displacing at least 30 people and injuring half a dozen firefighters. It took just 3 minutes for fire to overtake an entire section of the Heritage Square apartments on the 7800 block of Riverdale Road. Someone called 911 at 8:54, and the first truck arrived at 8:57.
It certainly appears that the fire started in a terrace-level apartment and then spread up, involving all 4 floors of this garden apartment building.
6 firefighters were injured. Some were burned, others dehydrated. One even broke an arm. Luckily, no residents were hurt. Nelson Coronado lives in an adjoining building. He and his girlfriend were getting their 7-month-old son ready for daycare when the blaze started.
I ran around to all the apartments, knocked on everyone's door and told them to come out because there was a fire.
We was inside, just waking up actually, and someone knocked on the door and told us there was a fire. I looked out the balcony and saw everybody coming out and saw fire trucks coming in.
Many residents are arriving home now to assess the damage, but they won't be allowed inside. When you came up here and saw this, what did you think?
Well, panic right now because I don't know what is happening in the building. I saw the building is open, my apartment door is open, so I really don't know what is happening right now.
Firefighters say it will be hours before the residents can go inside. Firefighters say that this apartment complex was built before codes mandated sprinklers in each unit. They say a sprinkler system would have contained the blaze, therefore cutting down on the amount of damage.
Sprinklers certainly would have helped. The advantage that a sprinkler system will give you is that more than likely this fire would have been extinguished in the apartment where it started.
At least 8 units are a total loss, and adjoining apartments may have some smoke damage. But those residents say that's minor compared to their neighbors' troubles.
Kind of relieved, kind of sad for the people that were living there, but relieved at the same time.
Damage is estimated at $250,000, and the cause is still unknown. Of the injured firefighters, 3 were discharged this afternoon, 2 were admitted to hospitals, and 1 is still undergoing treatment. Now, another fire in the county, this one injuring 3 firefighters. It happened this afternoon at 6201 Walker Mill Road in District Heights. Officials say 2 firefighters suffered minor burns, a third exhaustion, while battling a blaze at this 2-story wood frame house. No one was inside the home at the time. Firefighters also believe the house was undergoing renovation work. There's no word yet on what caused this fire. There's more information tonight involving the county police search for a 17-year-old boy connected with a string of robberies. Police say Eric Murray of the district was one of 7 youths who escaped from the Oak Hill Youth Center in Laurel. That incident happened back in May, and since then 3 Asian-owned county businesses were robbed. Murray's most recent robbery occurred Monday night in Hyattsville.
And coming up, Labor Day weekend is drawing near. AAA says you should get out of town right now.
And as you hit the roads, how are the gas prices in the area? We'll have the latest numbers. And journey to South Africa. Curtis Crutchfield joins us with more on his series from Durban. Tonight, more on those so-called street kids. Well, driving somewhere out of town this Labor Day weekend? If so, you're not alone. More than 500,000 Washingtonians will hit the highways. Most holiday travelers are expected to drive more than 50 miles this weekend. That means crowded roads, and the early back-to-school year is part of the reason why. The national travel projections for this year are below the record 1997 figures. Well, there is some good news for those of you who will hit the road this Labor Day weekend. You can expect low gas prices. AAA says a gallon of self-serve gas in the Washington area has fallen 7 cents to $1.45 in the last month. What's more, in Maryland, the prices are even better, averaging $1.43, which is a drop of 7 cents during the last month and 14 cents below the price a year ago.
Well, on his journey to South Africa report yesterday, Curtis Crutchfield told us about the dilemma of street kids in Durban.
Today he's here to tell us about the city's response. And Curtis, how does the city respond to this problem, if anyone does there at all?
Dave and Amy will tell you more about the AIDS crisis in South Africa, focusing particularly, as I just said a moment ago, on Denise Brown. She's from Clinton, Maryland. She's a nurse and Christian, and she's very emotional about kids and the issue of AIDS.
Well, she seems like a very dedicated individual to be able to do that time and time again.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. See you tomorrow night.
Okay.
Coming up after the break, a new spay-neuter clinic opens in the county.
And the county exec's dog is one of the first patients.
Back over to Dave Goldman with sports. And Dave, tonight we're talking about the other high school sport, or the other high school fall sport, that is soccer. So as far as the soccer season goes for the girls that we saw tonight, they could very well be state-bound this year.
The news for this Thursday, August the 30th. We thank you for joining us tonight.
We'll see you back here tomorrow live at 4:30. Until then, have a great night.
In a minute, we're going to go.
Night.